we go. And let me share screen. Here we go. All right, welcome everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining today. Today is our Vino the Vote simulation party. You'll be holding these in your community. And it doesn't have to be Vino the Vote. It doesn't have to be an event with an alcoholic beverage. It can be coffee, it can be tea, it can be desserts of your choosing in whatever permissible by law in your specific state. And so I know when you all came in the room, you had a little music. We've got our beverages, we've got a few snacks. And so Julie and I today will be covering all things you should consider for a successful house party. A lot of this information is also covered in the organizing guide, and it will also be further articulated in the forthcoming volunteer guide as well that we'll have ready for you all at the beginning of next week. And so without further ado, let's jump in. So these are the deets. I think that first and foremost, congratulations to you for stepping up to the plate and charge of red wine and blue. Our Vino to Vote events, in addition to our national events or any meetups you have in your states, are being able to get out the message and connect with over 20,000 women this midterm. So as you're having conversations with folks after you've mapped your network, sometimes you'll hear, no, I don't want to host an event. I just want to go to one. You'll hear that over and over and over until eventually you will get a yes. Rest assured, people like to party in many different ways, and you will get a host, or you yourself can host a party as well if you want to start that way. I would always speak with the host one-on-one and really confirm the logistical details, the date, the time. Are there going to be refreshments they provided? Do we need to provide them? Just really getting some information about the crowd or the audience you'll be engaging at the event. And more so importantly, confirming those logistical details and adding them to your state-specific calendars, or even maybe it's a national Vino the Vote. I don't know. We've got a lot of things that we could do this cycle. We also can add the event to the website, much like many of the events that are already listed there on Red Wine and Blue. And then also Facebook. You definitely want to make sure you make a Facebook group specific to your state, confirming this if it is a public event. But if it's a private event, making it private and making sure you work with the host to invite their folks. Next, we'll dive into a little bit more in the next slide. Make an invite. We have Canva available to us. Your leadership team will be able to work with you to create an invite if you already don't have one in mind. We definitely want to make sure it uses our branding and uses our voice when you're making the invite, and making it very clear who the host is and that you are the RWB representative. After all the logistical details have been made, it's time to compile the invite list. It's definitely time to identify who the host wants to invite and why. And you may even have another Red Wine and Blue staffer who wants to attend. And so making sure that you share that opportunity with other folks in your area. I know some of us are spread out in our states, but some of us are in the same metropolitan suburban area. So definitely feel free to invite another staffer if you need backup or support. Then you make the guest list. You figure out who it is we're going to invite. Are we going to make this a targeted Facebook list? We want to make sure we have folks' phone numbers and zip codes and emails, because we want to send it out to them in all the channels. And then you'll start getting people RSVP. Sometimes people will RSVP on Facebook, but not on the website. So making sure that you connect the dots to do follow-up and reminders. I would say if your event is a week out, you should touch base with people in 3 days, maybe via text. Maybe at day 5, you make a phone call, and then on the day of, do another text message and post on Facebook. You can post on social if it's a public event, or just to that group of people whenever you would like it during that time. you and the host can determine the cadence and who would make the reminder. Also, we will go here in a few minutes, we'll go through the actual Vino the Vote resources that are located on the organizing drive under Great Troublemaker Turnout, under Vino the Vote, or any of our other event branded items. And you'll see a logistical run of show or run of the party. When you get to the party, definitely chill out, pour your beverages, eat your snacks. We don't want folks feeling like they're going to a town hall or something and that we're using Robert Rules of Order or anything like that. We want to make sure that folks are comfortable, they're seated. We've waited for a few folks to get in a little late. I mean, depending on the timing of your event, folks might come into traffic or have to drop their kids off. And so just be mindful that just because an event starts at 7:30, it might not really start until 7:45, 7:50. And then you do the party. We'll go through the party here in a second. And there are several components to the party, but just know that every party will be different. No party is the same. We do have a framework for you to reference, but just know, go with the flow, trust your gut, and do what feels most natural to you. And then most importantly, we want to make sure that we publicly thank the host during that time. We want to thank them for their time and their resources for making this opportunity available to their network and any others that could attend. And then after it's all over and you've collected the sign-in sheets, definitely send data.
Did you say this is link and pin? I'll read them.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I can barely hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I'm gonna
Okay,
Janice,
I can barely hear you.
Let me
I'm gonna redial, okay?
Janice, you gotta mute yourself.
Okay.
Or Ray, if you want to give me co-host, I can help.
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that.
Yes.
Julie, right now. Let me just, gosh, I tell you, technology.
Not much, but let's try it anyway. Yes, I was, my name is Janice, and I was in there earlier and spoke to the regional manager who got me set up to have to reserve a space with you guys.
My
next
slides
Wednesday.
went away, Julie.
And he was
Can you
telling me
bring
about
up-
you
let me-
all
mute
Huntersville
Janice while
location,
you,
because we're gonna be having
Make me a
something like that. And I
co-host
just
and
want
then
to give
I'll-
his name because we're gonna be calling the name of your manager, the regional manager there.
It
because
won't
we're
even
gonna
let
be
me do it
calling
now.
the Huntersville
Thank you,
place
host.
too. And I just want to let them know who I spoke with. The regional manager's name that I spoke with. What was his name? What is his name?
You can also
Chris?
mute her, Ray, if you want. You can
it
go in.
won't let me
What's
since
his
you're
last
host
name?
now. It won't.
Oh,
let
I'm
me.
host now?
Yeah, it wouldn't let me
Oh.
make co-host, only host. Okay. I
Okay.
think something might have happened.
Lambert?
No, it
Okay.
didn't.
Okay, and he was a regional manager. I think he told me he was a regional manager.
So everyone, this is, things don't always go as exactly planned. So be flexible with.
You're back.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and Janice is muted. Be flexible with what happens at your event. And so let me go back and share screen again.
Let me jump in real quick since you're getting your
Yes.
screen share back. I just want to point out, so I think that definitely if you're going to host a Vino the event, like in a bar or a restaurant or in your own home or something, and you want it to be public and you want to invite everybody, that's fabulous. Put it out on the website, put it on a Facebook group. But if you have somebody who is like personally hosting in their home and they don't really want it on the Red, Wine, and Blue website, we can definitely talk to your deputy directors, because we can create events in our data system so that you could give people a sign up link. So like if they want to spread it around to their friends and they want to have them, RSVP online to it, we can do that without having it be public. Just wanted to throw that out there, because I know that like if someone's hosting this in their home and they just want to invite like their close circle of friends and they don't want it to be a public event, that's perfectly okay. We can do that too. But we do have the capability, like Ray just laid out, in terms of like a more public event where like Marla invited 700 people, like that's cool if it's your event and people are okay with like strangers coming. But definitely you can designate between those two things.
Awesome. Thanks so much for clearing that up, Julie. And just to logistically, so you all know where everything is for Vino the Votes or any of your events. And so if you go to the organizing Google Drive, you'll see great troublemaker turnout. You'll be able to see training material. So these are things that you can utilize as content for your meetup or Vino the Vote event. There's also one specific to Vino the Vote. And so all those materials are here. This presentation I'm sharing will be, it already lives here. And so for now, I just want to kind of go through a few resources in here so you can see what you're working with. And so let me just X out of that. And so this is the one pager, very quick and easy, that you can share with a host or that you can even reference to create yours. And so really just looking through the steps of creating an amazing guest list, inviting folks, and giving them a little nudge, those reminders. And so this is a really quick and dirty version of what you can expect when you're getting ready or even trying to sell Vino the Vote to somebody. It's a really great one. We also have a sample run of show. So you can definitely time things. As you all know, in many meetings, I'll say, oh, we got 13 minutes left or 12 minutes left. You can segment the activities for as much as you want. And so, for instance, here we have guests arrive in social time. So that's about 30 minutes from 2:30 to 2:35, a short welcome from the host and gives a short presentation about what motivated her to host the event and introduces you as a red, wine, and blue organizer. This is also a point at which the host or the organizer could share their story of self. It really just kind of segments very easily into our presentations about what RWB is and what motivates us this election cycle, or really personally motivates the host and the RWB organizer, and then invite attendees to share. At this point, you could definitely do breakout groups if you wanted to, or icebreakers. You don't just always just have to have attendees share in a big group. They could share in one group, and then depending on the size of the attendees, you could have somebody from each group talk about what drove them to come to the event or their story of self. We then turn to asking an attendee to speak on their personal concerns or issues this election cycle. Sometimes folks, will off the cuff just want to say, you know what, this is really exciting for me, and I care about schools because of X, Y, and Z, or I care about reproductive justice because of X, Y, and Z. This depends on whatever motivates them, because really and truly, we want folks to be in tune with the local issues, so they don't just stop at the bottom of the ballot or the top of the ballot. We want folks to vote through the full ballot. And then last but not least, this is an opportunity for the organizer or our red, wine, and blue staff representative to explain the Great Troublemaker Turnout Program, how to get involved, and training. We have the training linked in the slides. The training is also on the organizing team Google Drive. And so the slides are there, a run of show, and even word for word verbiage you want to say. I would suggest that you get yourself acquainted with doing the Great Troublemaker Turnout training prior to your event. You do the training, you make sure the sign-up sheet is all good, and then you give folks time to have questions and answers and share ideas. A lot of mobilization will come out of that conversation, and just know that every conversation and every event will be dramatically different. So don't feel like you're doing it wrong. As long as people are engaging, are excited about being there, and really tuned in to what's happening in the moment, you'll be A-okay. And then I'm gonna go back. And then we're gonna go forward. Branding your invite. We have lots of options to tailor your event to your audience. For instance, on the left, you'll see dessert and democracy. That can be a number of things. I mean, my dessert, most of the time, if I'm out at a restaurant or I'm at home, I usually choose a Malbec or a Paloma as my dessert, but dessert can be a lot of different things. And so we have dessert and democracy, beers and banned books. We have like a number of things that you can choose from that are on the Google Drive. But if there's something that you want to make a little bit more tailored and unique to your audience for your event, reach out to your state leaders and we can do design in Canva. We have a lot of preloaded things in Canva to make things really cute and RWB branded. And so definitely know that if we don't already have an event invite, we can design one. And then with branding your invite, make sure you collaborate with the host. Maybe this person wants to have it at a vineyard where they're a member of the monthly leadership club or something. By all means, reach out to them and have them reach out to that venue to get their logo or something like that if you really want to personalize it. But it's always asking the host what they want, including and keeping them in tune in the process is really critical and a great way to build relationships with folks. I'm gonna look at the Slack a little bit. I guess we'll get to the questions here at the end. Some event content ideas. We'd always want to make sure that we conduct a great troublemaker turnout training. You don't have to do everything word for word, step for step. If you do, great. But as long as they understand what red, wine, and blue is and what we're trying to accomplish this election cycle, they are trained. And so just making sure that you know that the goal of the Vino the Vote is to build relationships, train folks, and for folks to have a good time. I like to call it edutainment. And then you can always break out groups around an issue or topic, depending on how much time you have allotted. You may have something that's going, like in Michigan, there's going to be stuff on the ballot. It could always be about that, or it could be about something way more local that, you know, there's a contentious school board race or something like that. Definitely feel free to do breakout groups. You can also watch a previous Red Wine and Blue Salon. We had State Senator Mallory McMorrow on from Michigan a couple of weeks back, and sharing that and watching clips of that is really awesome. I know Jess McIntosh was a real big hit, and we even have slides branded just with Jess's talking points too that you can utilize during your Vino the Vote event. And then you always can do a session to help people craft their story of self or mapping your network. I was very grateful that I was able to work with Angela to do a recorded mapping your network session. And she also created a resource that I'm going to work with Cool Beer on to distribute more widely to everyone at RWB. But doing any of those things is also a great activity. Julie, do you want to weigh in on any of this?
Yeah, thank you. Ray went through kind of the run of show, which I just wanted to kind of go through that myself with you guys and just say, this is what I think you should do when you get to someone's house. And it'll be a different format depending on where it's being held, because obviously you can have better conversations in a home. So anyways, those run of shows that are in the file are actually, you can change them. Like they're Cool Beer made them so that you can go in and change the time and change what you want to do, and you can give those to your hostesses so she knows, you know, what the deal is and what you're going to be doing. But 100%, I think the best thing is to come in and give them, you know, you want to meet the people that are there. You want to make it a social hour. You want people to have a few drinks maybe, so they're really into like what you're going to present. Meet people in there, and then when you get started, I think it's just really important you give a few minutes about your story and why you're, you know, why you're concerned, why you got involved with Red Wine and Blue, why you think what we're doing is so important. Definitely, I'm sorry, let the hostess start by like why she wanted to do this. Give your little short story of self. I would definitely either have your hostess give you somebody ahead of time, or I would find somebody when you're chit-chatting in that first half hour, who's willing to stand up and just say like what they're worried about, what they're concerned about, why they, you know, they want to make a difference in this election. Because when you get someone in your audience standing up, you get that buy-in from everybody else. You get a little bit of that fear of missing out. You know, so they're like, oh, wow, Ray's already like doing this. She's like into it. I should be doing this too. So it's a really great tactic to get more people in, you know, interested. And then, you know, you want to do your troublemaker turnout like presentation. It does not have to be this whole half-hour presentation that we do when we do the virtual events. I am actually going to work on a like outline of like, what do you really need to cover? If you may not even have access to a TV or screen where you could even use the slides. So You know, I would definitely find out ahead of time if you are going to be able to like project on a TV, and if you're going to even have slides to use. If not, I would, you just stand up there and talk and give them the basics on what we're doing, why it's effective, and why it's so important they talk to their friends, and what a big impact they can have, and how this is a team effort, and like together we are going to reach so many voters. And then I would definitely talk to them about like, get out your phone. Let's start thinking through who you can have conversations with. Let's map those networks. I am 100% behind Ray that we are turning Angela's little cheat sheet on how to make your list into something that you guys can print and bring, because it is amazing. It is a great, great tool to help people really think through. And when they start writing those lists, they start to get a little more committed to doing it. So definitely take that step, take questions at the end, and then just hang out and answer those questions. And I know it's a lot of information, especially if you're new and you've only been here for a week or two. The best way for you to get more comfortable talking about this program and learning is just to like come to some of the trainings, listen in our meetings. Like the more you hear us talking about it, then the more confident you get. I 100% when I first started would go to meetings and I would just listen to Katie talk, and then I would pick up on things she was saying and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's how I'm going to say this. So you guys just coming to meetings and listening and going to presentations is how you'll get more and more comfortable with it. But you still know more than the ladies in the room. So, don't be intimidated. And the worst thing you can be is like, you know what, I don't know the answer to that question. I'll get back to you. But the goal is just to get them excited and then just to get them signed up and ready to do this. So that's all I really wanted to say about it.
Thanks, Julie. And I also would say, this is just a mini checklist. This is not exhaustive. This is like a quick and dirty checklist for the day. Just really just remembering to do your attendee confirms and reminders, whether that be phone, DMs, text messages, whatever it is. Also check in about the refreshments. You definitely want to check in with your state leadership team about what events they've designated to have a budget for. Some events cost money and some don't. Some of our hosts, more often than not, a lot of our hosts cover all the costs, but there may be some things you might want to print or something like that. So definitely check in with your program director and deputy program director if you do feel like you'll have some needs around buying things. And then you'll also shortly be receiving your RWB materials like stickers, magnets, car magnets, buttons, sign-in sheets, the like. And then I think something that's really critical, because we want to keep moving folks through our relational engagement pipeline. And so making sure you have a sign-in sheet and being able to just make sure you get that to your state leadership team will be really critical to us continuing to push people through our program. And who knows, you might have a host or an attendee that turns into a trouble maven, or they also wants to just do, moderation in the Facebook group or whatever. I mean, we can plug folks in accordingly depending on what their bandwidth looks like, but definitely be mindful of a few items. I also would make sure you have the Discord QR code available in addition to your digital business card, because that's a way you can keep in touch with folks, as well as making sure that everybody who attended is on the sign-up sheet. And, let's do it. I mean, I know it might be a little scary at first, but we all have been to a house party or something related to this. They'll all be so different. It's definitely about the journey and not the destination. So feel free to attend another Vino the Vote party ran by another team member in your state, or maybe there's a virtual one. Definitely attend one and just get the feel for it and the cadence of how the evening goes according to your specific run of show. Definitely work on your story of self to share at the event. I think that it's an awesome opportunity to also bond with your hosts and sharing your story of self and helping them craft their own. And just thinking about if they can select someone who'd be willing to share what they care about in their community and why they came to this red, wine, and blue democracy and desserts event. And then if you do need some more support, feel free to connect with your state leaders or myself for additional support. Feel free to ask a question in Slack, DM me, or even use the Slack channel organizers, because we all are at different points in the process for running these Vino the Votes. And we know that it can be scary at first, but it's like muscle memory. Once you did one, you be able to like do a number of them. And so don't feel shy. Know that you have what it takes. It may feel a little awkward at first, but you will get the rhythm and be able to do the work to have a successful event. And so now I'm going to open it up to folks to ask questions or even speak about your own previous Vino the Vote parties. It looks like Amy has her hand up.
I have to share, this is pretty amazing. I just got a text right now. It buzzed, so I took a look at it. And it's from actually someone, Julie, I was going to say we should get her to share in a group because she is a local gynecologist. And she is awesome, and she's a really strong Democrat and a good friend. And she kind of says we should make abortion obsolete. So that's a point that we can talk about. But this is what she sent me today. She said, I had an amazing day I wanted to share with you. I was inspired by our red, white, and blue, and I started to talk about issues with women. Surprise, surprise, I saw a lot of women today. So she was comfortable talking about it, as I guess she's doing like your exams and stuff, which is awesome. Young women I talk to about birth control, and I encourage them to register to vote and to vote to protect access to birth control. I saw moms and I asked them how they feel things are going with school. 100% were appalled by what is going on. My school just enacted a book ban policy, the first one in Pennsylvania. I was kind of neutral. I asked them about the superintendent and the school board, and that we need to vote for new school board people in the next election. And then she said, I was able to transition to reproductive rights by saying, people always ask me about abortion. And I say, let's make abortion obsolete, not illegal. And we talked about universal health care and free birth control. And she actually talks about a lot of the doctors that she's talked to, they want to make birth control over the counter. And she said, and I encouraged them to talk to their friends, and it went really well. And I just wanted to say thank you, Amy, for inspiring me.
Okay, Amy, I see you, Amy, making connections. And yeah, you
She
can.
sees lots of women every day, so if she's comfortable doing it, we've got a lot more people in Pennsylvania.
I would love for her to come share that, but I kind of wonder if she'd get in trouble with like the medical board or something. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'll get you in touch, and you can, she's pretty outspoken, and she's, she talks to women and, young women all day. So.
Well, I definitely like to share, and that's the one thing we love to do is find those inspiring stories of women doing this, and then we post about them on like the main page, so other women are like, oh, well, if she's doing it, I can do it too. That's just a very well, obviously very specialized situation.
Yes.
But I think it's kind of cool though that the fact that she talked to you and then was inspired by it. And I will, this is the only thing else I'm going to say, and I'll let you guys ask questions, but I think you will find that as you're doing this, yes, you're probably nervous and you're like, I don't know everything, and you don't have to know everything. You still, like I said, know more than the people you're talking to. And you can always get the answers that you need afterwards, and the more you do it, the more confidence you're going to get. But I 100% believe that you will walk away feeling energized, because women are looking for something to do. And I think everybody on this call who has done something, a meetup or talked to somebody, has had everybody be like, oh my God, this is amazing. So you are going to get that energy back just because you're there and you're giving them something they can do. So, just walk in knowing that, and no matter what you have to explain later or what answers you have to give them later, it doesn't matter. They are just going to be so happy that they met you and that they know there's other women out there who are pissed and doing something. That'll be the vibe. I guarantee it. So.
Thanks, Julie. Angela, I think we got Angela and then maybe some questions, or maybe Angela does have a question. I don't know.
Well, I do have a question. I was just gonna say, I've done a couple of these, and then I've done 1, 2, 3 meetups. And so I feel like we are always finding people with great stories at these events. I had somebody at my last party who, as I'm explaining this, is telling me how she essentially was doing this while she was getting a massage from her gay massage therapist who was not registered to vote. And the long and short of it is conversations with him ensued. She ended up coming back with a form, got him registered, all of that. But my point is, I guess, and the question I'm asking is, I've always thought, if we could get people to tell these stories and do it as like a video recording, and then it would be content we could share out, that would be like a really cool thing to do. I mean, I also have a woman who came to one of my meetups who has a transgender son who's going into high school. And we have a group that is connected to an extremist group here in town that is getting ready to do a civics and get out the vote training for teens that has a 90-minute segment on resisting the transgender movement. So she is very concerned and very worried about that. And I do think she's somebody that might be willing to speak up if we're looking for women to give inspirational stories. So I guess my question is, what should we be doing if we're coming across people like this?
Definitely writing down their name. And actually, the woman you just mentioned, I might be able to use next week at a troublemaker training, because don't quote me, I believe it's next week that we have a woman coming from Equality Ohio, and we were going to focus on LGBTQ issues and attacks, because that's the new thing that's going to be happening in school this year. Not new, but they're ramping it up, I should say. So yeah, 100%, like would love to connect her. Some of these people could speak in a salon or a troublemaker training, depending on their story. We turn them over to the content team, and they can decide whether this is a Facebook post, or this is a video, or this is somebody who should be on the podcast. So if you do get those stories where you're just like, okay, cool story, like write them down, share them you can share them in the Slack channel. I don't know who's in every channel, so I don't want to say that, but you could put them in general. You could share it with your deputy or your state director, and they can make sure it gets to like the content team. But 100%, those amazing stories, we want to know about them. That is all we want to amplify each and every day, is like the stories of women doing this work. And there are plenty of different ways we could, get them out there, whether it's a podcast guest or speaking in a training or just being a part of our content.
Thanks, Julie. Missy, it looks like you've got your hand up.
I just wanted to offer on that topic, like I've been doing like my grassroots organizing since 2016, but about a year and a half ago, it became really personal, because my son, who's about to be a junior in high school, he came out as gay, and it had followed about a year and a half before that of like very, very serious depression and anxiety, suicidal ideation, and then coming out through a lot of care, a lot of support and care. He is seemingly on the other side of it, and he's out, and he's very proudly out, and he's in like such a better place. And so it's just I don't want to go deep into that right now, but just wanted to offer my story on LGBTQ plus topics as well. So
Well, let me know, because you could also speak. Like, I definitely want staff to come and speak too, depending on how comfortable everybody is with being public. But
I'm very
okay.
happy to do that. So just let me know. Yeah.
Okay, no, perfect. I appreciate that 100%. And I just checked with Drew, and he thought the printed business cards had been printed, but he wasn't sure. So we'll find out. But you guys will be getting just generic cards that you can take to events to hand out you can put your name on it. But you will get a digital business card as well. It just takes a minute for them to create them. So if you're fairly new, it might take a hot minute to get them.
And thanks so much, Missy, for sharing your story. And I'll definitely be in your DMs about when we'll be working with you. And so thanks so much for being so vulnerable and sharing yours today. Other questions, comments, ideas?
Actually, I was going to ask Angela. She just talked to me earlier, and you're still here, right, Angela? Can you share? Yeah, I see you now.
I'm here.
I'm sorry, there's a lot of you on the Zoom. I can't see everybody's faces. Angela, could you share your idea? Because I think it's such a cool idea. So this is not necessarily a Vino the Vote party, but if you have a super volunteer, like a trouble maven, super volunteer who wants to do something, or if you just want a really fun idea to bring the women in your community together and get people meeting each other and like building community, I think this was a fabulous idea. So Angela, why don't you share that?
Yeah, so when you guys have heard me talk about working on the campaign for Pete Buttigieg, and when we were on the campaign, we were asked to do visibility events so that we could be out and about and be visible as supporters of him. And so one of the things that we did was that we played trivia at different breweries and bars that had trivia nights, and we would play as Team Pete Buttigieg. So we would wear our shirts. I would bring all my swag and stuff. And every time, in between the rounds, the person running the trivia had to give the basically say, the standings for all the teams. And so they would have to say our team name over and over, and over again, so people would hear it. And then we would have people sometimes just walk up to our table and say, "Hey, who is Pete Buttigieg?" And sometimes we would walk around to other tables. We'd be like, "Hey, have you heard of this guy? He's running for president. We got some information." And we could do the same for Red, Wine, and Blue. We could have all of our stuff and be ready to kind of connect people in to us. And I think Julie's idea was that, if we have trouble mavens places and we want to sort of get them activated in organizing some kind of event or activity where people could come together. It would be social. They could talk about issues in between the rounds while we're waiting for the scores to be tallied. But then, it's also a way to just have a lot of visibility for what we're doing with Red, Wine, and Blue. And pretty much it seems like most communities somewhere, someplace have trivia nights. We have a bunch of them here.
Such a good idea. Like this is not going to be a training, like you're not going to be able to train people at this, but your people who've signed up, you want them to kind of meet each other. You want them to feel like they're part of a big team. So literally go be a team, go be a trivia team. If they have t-shirts, they can wear them. You could have stickers they could put on if they don't have a shirt. Name yourself Team Red, Wine, and Blue, and then people in the bar might be like, "What the hell is Red, Wine, and Blue?" and come over, and you can give out a business card, or, if you're volunteer, you guys don't have to go to all this stuff either. You get a really great volunteer, and you just kind of tell them someone's interested. Just make sure they give them your name, or they give them a Red, Wine, and Blue card, or actually they get that person's name so that you can then reach out to them and don't rely on them to do it. But I just thought that was such a good idea, and how fun. Like if somebody was like a super volunteer and they wanted to do like a weekly trivia night and meet up and, or every other week or whatever they want to do. But I just think that is such a cool idea.
It sure is. It gives me a way to use some of this random history knowledge that I'm paying student loans for. So yeah, I'm totally down for it. So Angela, we should definitely coordinate, and I should do one maybe that coincides with the sweep state sessions, because we will be having one in Florida on August 31st. So really cool idea. Any other questions, comments, any of the things anybody wants to know? Anybody who's done a Vino the Vote, like what were your fears and how did you feel coming out of your Vino the Vote? Marla.
Well, I didn't technically do a Vino the Vote, but I was at a party, which was kind of like a Vino the Vote. It's with an organized group, but I think I've shared this with some of you, but for the new people, I wore my branded shirt, and a lot of the women at the party didn't know what Red, Wine, and Blue was. And they thought I was a wine vendor. So they were like, I don't know, like actually one woman was like, "Oh God, I thought you were like this wine vendor trying to sell me stuff and I didn't want to talk to you." And I said, "Oh, I really appreciate you being honest with me." And then we connected really well because I just kind of tell it like it is. Like it was funny. But I will say I usually don't have a problem talking to people just who I don't know. But it was scary actually to go into someone's house I had never met and strike up conversation. And I guess that was maybe just because it was my first time, and I don't want anyone to feel like, "Oh God, I'm going to be nervous too," or but you kind of just, like, to Julie's point, like I had like half a glass of wine and I was like, "Okay, you know what? I'm working. I'm here to do this. Let's just do this." And you just have to force yourself, even for someone like me, it's very comfortable to just jump in. And I think what was intimidating is like, not everyone knew each other, but like there were like little cliques of people kind of hanging out. And you just kind of had to be like, hey, and then once you do it 1 or 2 times, it's fine. But you just have to jump in. It's like jumping into a cold pool. At least at that event it was. Now for the event I'm hosting, it's at my house, so I'm like, it's fine, and I think if Missy and I do any co-events or anything up in the Cleveland area, it's probably will be helpful that the two of us will be together. But I would just say just jump in. And then by the end of the night, everybody was so obsessed with red wine and blue. You feel like a celebrity. It's really cool. But it's that initial just go for it. So that's my advice.
Oh, I like that, Amy. Channel your inner Brene Brown. Be awkward, brave, and curious. And sometimes what I do before I do public speaking, whether it's virtually or in person, long time ago, I would watch YouTube videos to get myself like hyped up. I would have a playlist. I love that new Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion, and so I play things like that to get myself motivated. And so do what makes you feel like you're gonna jump out the box and be really like the fairy godmother, the RWB fairy godmother. Do whatever it takes, whether that's working out before or giving yourself a pep talk or doing affirmations. All of those things help, and icebreakers are hugely beneficial as well. And so there's a number of icebreakers you can do to engage folks, because some of those folks might not even know each other. You might be partnering with 2 hosts or something, and they're bringing 2 friend groups together. So feel free to do what feels most natural for you and the host.
Well, per the comments about like Shannon having a playlist and stuff, I distinctly remember driving to the event and a Kid Rock song came on, and I was like, oh, like I just got really mad, and I was like, all right, we're doing this. And that kind of, I don't know, like that sort of put me in a mindset where I was like, oh God, turn this off, but anyway.
Thanks so much, Marla. Anybody else want to share or ask any questions or even just a comment? All right, well, we got about 12 minutes left if nobody has anything. Oh, there you go, Morgan.
Do y'all usually take swag with you to one party, to these events? Or are these kind of just smaller, like, do you just kind of do like the one sheeter kind of deal? Like, what do y'all usually, do you take anything with you?
I took 1-sheeters that I printed up in color with a QR code. And then when you're talking, it was kind of helpful to just, people would say like, oh, well, tell me about the organization. And I would do that spiel. And then I would say, here, take this flyer from the table where they had like postcards out for candidates and that kind of stuff. Because again, it wasn't a red wine and blue event I was at, but the people who were putting it on had that stuff out.
Which one did you use, Marla? Did you use like, because I have one that's sort of our 1-sheeter kind of deal.
I can look.
Oh.
There was one in the Google Drive that Crystal had created for me that was tailored to the event. So
Okay, well,
yeah.
That's
There's 1-pagers in the Google Drive about Red Wine and Blue as an organization, and then there's also 1-pagers about Great Troublemaker turnout.
yeah, I saw those. I was just thinking if there was one. I just this one didn't have a QR code, but I mean that's not,
Yeah.
I guess, necessary.
I was gonna say, I have like stand-up plastic,
That's
whatever you call it, things. And I print out QR codes for signing up for GTT, for events, for the Pennsylvania Facebook group. And so I just have them standard and have them so that people can just get signed up for everything. So that's something that I usually bring.
And I saw a question about postcards. We actually have a postcard we designed for out-of-state women to write to encourage our in-state women who are doing this. We haven't officially launched it yet, but it doesn't really apply to what I think for what you guys are doing. But if you do need something like that, I'm sure the content team could crank out a really quick postcard with just like the logo or something on it. So we have to request that stuff. There's a request form, but Cool Beer is kind of amazing. So I think that would take her literally 5 minutes. So if you need something like that, like talk to your state leadership.
I think I saw Missy's hand up. Missy, did you have yours up?
Well, I just had it's not Vino the Vote, but it was sort of on the topic of icebreakers. The day that I applied for this position, it was a couple weeks ago, I also participated in a great troublemaker training. And there were not that many people on. Like, I would say it was definitely under 10. And I wanted to see just what everybody thought, because I feel like people really like to talk about themselves or share their story. Like, and I feel like, you know, if those events are really big, then you couldn't do this. But I feel like if they're lower than 10, you know, if you take 15 minutes and have everybody just introduce themselves and say why they're there, I feel like it helps people feel much more connected. And like, the Vino the Vote, kind of, that was sort of the same thing. So I didn't know what people's thoughts were on that, but I wanted to throw it out there.
I absolutely agree. And I think that the more people can get to know one another, the better. I'm the type of person that usually in every meeting, I would do an icebreaker because it just helps build rapport and trust among folks too. Particularly since a lot of these issues are very personal to folks and they're experiencing the issues they're passionate about. And so I totally affirm that doing an icebreaker, I mean, even if it's a group under 15, you could even break people into 2 groups and do the icebreakers going in circles. And so it's your call. Trust your gut on what you want to do in the moment.
Yeah, I say trust your gut. I will say, if it's in person, I think that's great. My only hesitation is you might want to be like, set a 1-minute limit or something, because those tend to get out of control and you're suddenly a half hour into people talking about themselves and you haven't even started presenting. That's one of the reasons when we do events that we don't let people ask questions out loud and we take them in the chat, is because we have found that when we let people talk out loud, they tend to just not ask a question and just talk and rant about what they're mad about. So I think that's really like a call. I think in person it is good, as long as you can really make them short and sweet and quick and people feel included. But yeah, I think it's probably a judgment call. If it gets too big, then you're definitely going to be spending a lot of time doing that. So yeah, that's my only thing. Just like, I think Ray's right, like just kind of like judge the situation and see how long it'll be. You just don't want to like lose people's attention and then they kind of tune out or they have to leave or something. And not everybody's comfortable speaking up either. So making sure they know that they have permission not to join if they don't want to say something.
Well, we've got about 7 minutes left. I don't want to hold you all, and I want Rhonda to get to her evening birthday celebration time. And so we can use the time remaining to celebrate for her. Once I get back from picking Kai up from daycare, I'll have one for her. I'll cheers to you tonight, Rhonda. And any last comments, questions, ideas, thoughts? Well,
Yeah,
if there are none. Oh, there you go, Amy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just definitely think someone else said the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. So I think like anything, it's just a matter of practice. I put in the chat, I decided to do just with my neighbors first. I wasn't planning on it, but I asked them like, would you guys do me a favor, help me out a little bit, give me some feedback. And so that really made me feel more comfortable for a public event that I'm doing next week.
Awesome. That's a really great idea, Amy. Yeah, lean on your network, the folks closest to you, and just get out there, and then they'll be able to give you feedback and you'll continue to get better. It's all about iterating. So you might say, this went really well, this didn't, and you'll change it the next time and the next time, the next time, and then you'll have it down packed and you'll be able to do these in your sleep before long. And so thanks so much, folks. And it was really awesome having this with you. So definitely have your beverage and your charcuterie. Happy birthday, Rana. May your new year be full of joy, laughter, and abundance. And it's
Thank you.
Rana, are you coming tonight? Are you coming tonight because of the speaker?
I am, yeah, because I feel like I wanted to support her.
Okay, I was gonna say
that's how I roll.
I was gonna say I'm gonna kick you out when you come in, and then I was like, oh, but if she wants to support somebody, okay. I was like, you should go have a good time. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll have some wine because I'm not talking.
Oh,
So
good. Awesome. Well, I'll see many of you tomorrow for the Speechify training. And then tomorrow you'll also be getting an invite to a How to Be a Social Media Rock Star session for next week. And we'll work with folks from the content team on that, but Speechify will be a good foundation for that. But y'all have a good evening. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see y'all on the internet.